The alien princess feared her human husband until she discovered his true nobility. Princess Leora stood on the balcony of her high tower, looking out at the city of Aurealis. The sun of the twin moons was setting, casting a soft golden glow over the buildings. Even in this beautiful light, Leora felt a chill in her heart. Today was the day her life would change forever. She was to meet her human husband, a man from a distant planet called Earth. His name was Nathan Brooks. She had heard about humans all her life, tales of their unpredictable nature, their strength, and sometimes their cruelty. Her people, the Zinthars, were proud and cautious. They did not trust humans easily, and now she had to live with one as her husband. Leora's hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the ceremonial gown she had been ordered to wear. It shimmered with delicate threads of silver and violet, reflecting her status as the Princess of Aurealis. But she felt no pride. Instead, she felt fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of a human's strength, and fear of losing her own freedom. She had grown up learning that humans were dangerous, that they were wild and sometimes reckless. Her parents had arranged this marriage to secure peace between the Zinthar Empire and the human worlds. Politics had decided her life before she even had a choice. A soft sound made her turn. One of her attendants, a young Zinthar named Velina, stepped into the room. "Princess, your husband awaits in the central chamber," she said quietly, bowing slightly. Velina's face was calm, but Leora could see the concern in her eyes. Even the attendants felt the tension of this union. Leora took a deep breath. "I know," she said softly. "I am ready." She did not sound convincing, even to herself. The central chamber was vast, with tall ceilings and walls that glowed softly with ambient light. At the center stood Nathan Brooks. He was a human, taller than most Zinthars, with broad shoulders and a calm, confident stance. His dark hair was neatly trimmed, and his eyes were a deep brown, calm but observant. He wore a simple suit, not the flashy ceremonial clothes that Leora had expected. His presence was quiet but strong, almost commanding without arrogance. When their eyes met, Leora felt a jolt of fear. He was human, and humans were known to be strong. But there was also something else, something she could not name. A calmness, a sense of control that made her heart beat faster. She reminded herself to stay distant, to keep her fear hidden behind a mask of courtesy. Nathan bowed slightly. "Princess Leora," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "It is an honor to meet you. I hope we can live together in peace." Leora nodded politely. "I hope so," she said, though her voice was cold. She could not bring herself to smile. Inside, she was torn between curiosity and fear. For the next few hours, the royal council introduced Nathan to the palace and its rules. Leora watched silently, noticing the way he listened carefully, asked questions politely, and treated the Zinthar attendants with respect. He did not try to dominate or boast. He seemed human but different from what she had feared. Still, Leora's heart was heavy with doubt. Could a human ever truly understand a Zinthar? Could he be trusted? After the introductions, Leora was escorted to a private dining room. The table was set with delicate foods from both Zinthar and human cultures. Nathan sat across from her, his posture relaxed but polite. He looked at the unfamiliar dishes with curiosity but did not make a show of it. "Will you try this?" Leora asked, pointing to a glowing blue fruit. She tried to sound casual, but her hands were still trembling. Nathan smiled faintly. "Of course," he said. He took a bite carefully, then nodded. "It's very sweet, and your people grow it beautifully." Leora raised an eyebrow. "You like it?" she asked. "Yes," Nathan said simply. "It is different from what I am used to, but it is good." Her suspicion wavered. He did not seem arrogant. He did not seem weak. He seemed honest, but honesty did not erase fear. Humans were still unpredictable. She reminded herself that this meal was only the beginning. There would be more tests, more challenges, more ways to see the true nature of a human. After the meal, Leora led Nathan through the palace gardens. The gardens were vast, filled with alien flowers that glowed softly in the twilight. She could not deny that Nathan looked impressed, even fascinated. He walked slowly, observing the plants, asking questions, and pointing out things that even she had not noticed. "You have a remarkable garden," Nathan said. "The colors, the shapes, it is unlike anything on Earth." Leora felt a small flicker of pride. "Thank you," she said softly. "We Zinthars take great care in our gardens. Each plant has a purpose, either for medicine or beauty." Nathan nodded thoughtfully. "I admire that. On Earth, we often forget the importance of careful cultivation. We take nature for granted." For a moment, the fear in Leora's heart eased. Here was a human who did not rush, who did not destroy without reason. Perhaps there was more to humans than the stories she had been told, but the fear returned quickly. Humans were strong. Humans were unpredictable, and Nathan Brooks, though calm now, might one day reveal a side that was dangerous. The night deepened, and they returned to the palace. Leora showed Nathan to his private quarters, a comfortable room filled with simple furnishings from both human and Zinthar styles. Nathan looked around and nodded in appreciation. "Thank you, Princess," he said. "It is comfortable and I feel welcome." Leora inclined her head. "I hope you will rest well," she said, though she wondered if either of them could sleep. The first night of a marriage arranged for politics was never easy, especially when fear and mistrust were involved. That night Leora could not sleep. She lay on her bed staring at the ceiling. Her thoughts were a storm. Could she ever trust this human? Could he understand her people? Could he protect her if danger came? And most importantly, could she find it in herself to respect him, to like him, to live with him? Meanwhile, Nathan sat by the window in his quarters, looking out at the city lights. He thought of his new life on Orioles, of the delicate princess he had married, and of the responsibility now resting on his shoulders. He had been trained to handle diplomacy, negotiation, and combat if needed, but this was different. He had to earn trust not just through words but through actions. He understood the fear in Leora's eyes, and he knew it would take patience and courage to bridge the gap between their worlds. The next morning came with soft light spilling over the palace. Leora dressed carefully once again, nervous for the day ahead. Nathan was waiting in the hall, calm and composed as always. Today, they were to attend a council meeting with both Zinthar leaders and human representatives. This would be the first real test of their partnership, and both knew the stakes were high. As they walked together, Leora noticed how Nathan moved with quiet confidence. He did not try to impress anyone, nor did he shy away from attention. He simply walked as if he belonged, yet without arrogance. This was a quality she had never expected in a human. Her fear did not vanish, but it shifted slightly, mixing with curiosity. When they entered the council chamber, the room fell silent. All eyes turned to the human husband and the Zinthar princess. Some of the Zinthar nobles whispered among themselves, questioning the wisdom of the marriage. Humans were strangers. Humans were strong. Could they be trusted? Leora felt the weight of every gaze, but she also felt a strange sense of relief. Nathan did not falter. He did not shrink. He simply stood beside her, ready to face whatever came next. The meeting began with tense discussions about trade, borders, and the ongoing threats from other alien factions. Nathan spoke carefully, listening more than he talked. When he did speak, he chose his words with care, showing respect for Zinthar customs while also explaining human perspectives. Leora watched him closely. Every word, every gesture seemed measured and honest. Slowly, she realized that he was not only capable but also honorable. Perhaps her fear had been partly wrong, but still, fear lingered. Fear was a part of her, shaped by years of training and stories. She could not let it go so easily. Nathan Brooks was strong, human, and still largely unknown. Trust was something that had to be earned. And so, Leora decided to watch, to observe, and to let the days tell her who her husband truly was. By the end of the day, Leora returned to her private chambers, exhausted but thoughtful. Nathan had not tried to dominate her or her people. He had not shown arrogance or cruelty. And yet she knew that the real tests were yet to come, challenges that could come from outside threats, political intrigue, or even from the hidden depths of human nature. As night fell, Leora looked at the stars above Oriales. Somewhere out there, humans lived on distant worlds, and one of them was now her husband. Could she find the courage to see him as more than a human, more than a stranger, more than someone to fear? Could she see the man behind the human, the heart, the honor, the nobility that she had yet to fully understand? Only time would tell. The morning sun rose slowly over Oriales, painting the city in soft shades of orange and gold. Princess Leora stood at her balcony, staring at the horizon. The night had been restless, filled with thoughts about Nathan Brooks. She had watched him carefully during the council meeting yesterday, noting his calm words, his respect for her people, and the way he moved among the nobles without arrogance. Yet she could not shake her fear completely. Humans were strong. Humans were unpredictable. And Nathan was one of them. Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps. Velina entered quietly, her face serious. "Princess, the council has summoned you. Something urgent has happened." Leora frowned. "What is it?" "There has been an attack at the outer districts," Velina said. "A group of rebels tried to storm the city gates. They were stopped, but some civilians were hurt." Leora's heart tightened. The Zinthars were not used to open attacks on their cities. War was something distant, fought in the stars, not in their streets. She felt a sudden pang of fear for her people, for the innocent lives at risk. And then she thought of Nathan. If danger came close, would he protect her? Would he protect her people? She moved quickly through the palace halls, her gown flowing behind her. Nathan was waiting near the council chamber, calm as always. He noticed her haste and reached out, lightly touching her arm. "Princess, we must stay calm. Fear can make things worse. Let us see what has happened and act wisely." Leora looked at him, unsure. His voice was steady, and there was a confidence in his eyes that almost made her believe in him. "I hope you are right," she said softly. The council chamber was filled with tension. Nobles whispered urgently among themselves as reports came in about the attack. A group of rebels, armed with strange weapons and driven by anger, had tried to enter the city through the east gate. Several guards had been injured and some civilians had been caught in the crossfire. The council was in chaos, debating what to do next. Nathan stepped forward calmly. "We need a plan," he said simply. "First, we secure the civilians. Second, we strengthen the gates. Third, we track and stop the rebels before they can regroup." Some nobles scoffed. "You are human. What do you know of our city defenses?" one of them said sharply. Nathan looked at the noble calmly, his brown eyes steady. "I do not know everything, but I can help. I have experience with planning and defense. We can work together." Leora watched silently. His calm and confidence were different from what she had expected. He did not brag, he did not insult anyone, and he did not try to take control by force. He simply offered a solution. Slowly the council began to listen. Velina leaned close to Leora. "He is different," she whispered. "Not like the stories you were told about humans." Leora nodded, still cautious. "Different or not, he is still human. We cannot forget that." Nathan quickly moved through the council chamber, organizing groups of guards and city officials. He assigned tasks with clear instructions, making sure everyone knew their role. Leora watched as he approached one of the injured guards, a young Zinthar named Reinar who was trembling with pain and fear. "Are you hurt badly?" Nathan asked gently. Reinar nodded, trying to hide his fear. I think it is just a scratch, sir." Nathan smiled reassuringly. "We will take care of it. You did well." Even Reinar seemed to relax under Nathan's calm presence. Leora felt a small flicker of hope. Perhaps humans were not only strong, but also kind in ways her people rarely understood. By mid-morning, Nathan had organized a rescue team to help the civilians trapped near the east gate. Leora insisted on joining him, despite her fear. She wanted to see how he would act in danger. Nathan accepted her presence without complaint, guiding her carefully through the preparations. When they reached the outer district, the scene was chaotic. Smoke rose from damaged buildings, and frightened civilians were huddled in small groups. Rebel fighters had left quickly after seeing the city's response, but the damage remained. Nathan moved calmly among the people, helping organize them and giving instructions to the guards. "Stay together," he said, pointing to a group of children. "Hold hands, follow the guards. You are safe now." Leora watched as the children obeyed without fear, trusting Nathan's words. She realized that his strength was not in his muscles, but in his ability to inspire trust and calm. Even the Zinthar guards seemed to follow his orders without question, impressed by his confidence and clarity. Suddenly, a loud explosion shook the area. A hidden rebel trap had gone off near a warehouse. Smoke and debris filled the air. Leora froze, unsure of what to do. Nathan immediately ran toward the danger, motioning for her to stay back. "Princess, stay behind," he shouted. But Leora could not stay still. She moved closer, her fear battling with her concern. She saw Nathan lifting heavy beams and pulling trapped civilians out of the rubble. He did not hesitate, even when another small explosion shook the ground. His calm courage inspired those around him to act, and soon the injured were safe. One of the rebels, hiding nearby, tried to attack Nathan with a strange energy weapon. Leora gasped, thinking the human would be killed instantly. But Nathan moved with quick precision, dodging the attack and disarming the assailant without harming him. He restrained the rebel and handed him to the guards, his face calm, showing no anger or desire for revenge. Leora felt something change in her chest. Fear was still there, but it was mixed with awe. Nathan had faced danger head-on, protected civilians, and handled a violent opponent without cruelty. She realized that nobility was not about birth or titles. It was about actions, courage, and choice. When the situation finally settled, Nathan walked over to Leora, his uniform dirty, hands scratched, but his expression calm. "Are you unharmed?" he asked gently. I am fine," Leora said, her voice trembling slightly. She could not hide the admiration in her eyes. You saved them all." Nathan shook his head modestly. "I only did what anyone should do. Protecting those in danger is the right thing to do." Leora wanted to argue, to say that humans were unpredictable and dangerous, but she could not. She saw the truth in his words and in his actions. This human was different from what she had feared. He was brave, noble, and kind. That evening they returned to the palace. Leora's attendants noticed a change in her demeanor. She was quieter than usual, thoughtful, and less tense. Velina approached her. "Princess, he is not like the stories, is he?" Leora shook her head slowly. "No, he is something else entirely. I do not know what to call it yet, but he is not the danger I feared. Perhaps he is the strength my people need." Nathan cleaned himself up and joined Leora for a quiet dinner. They did not speak much at first. The events of the day were still fresh, and both were exhausted. But when Nathan reached across the table to hand Leora a simple cup of water, she noticed the gentleness in his gesture. It was a small act, but it spoke volumes. "Today was difficult," Leora said finally. "I was afraid for the people and for you." Nathan shook his head. "Fear is natural. What matters is what we do despite fear. You were brave today too, Princess. You stayed with me when it was dangerous. You helped the people by your presence." Leora felt a warmth in her chest. She had expected humans to be reckless, perhaps cruel, or at least self-interested. But Nathan had shown her something different. He had acted with care, courage, and respect. Slowly, her fear of him began to fade, replaced by something new: trust. Later that night, Leora could not sleep. She sat by her window, staring at the stars above Oriales. She thought of the humans on distant worlds and of the one human now standing beside her in the palace, Nathan Brooks. He had faced danger today with courage and kindness, and he had done it not for glory or reward, but because it was right. She realized that fear could no longer guide her judgment. She had seen his true character. Perhaps humans were not the dangerous creatures her people had feared. Perhaps they were capable of honor and courage, just like the Zinthars. As she thought of him, a small smile touched her lips. It was the first genuine smile she had given him. She did not know what the future would hold or what challenges awaited them. But she knew one thing: Nathan Brooks was not someone to fear, he was someone to respect, and perhaps in time someone to trust completely. For the first time, Leora felt a sense of hope. The future was uncertain, but she no longer faced it with fear alone. She faced it with the knowledge that her human husband was brave, noble, and steadfast, and that knowledge gave her a strange, comforting strength. Outside, the city of Oriales rested peacefully, unaware of the lessons learned in its palace. But Leora knew that peace was fragile and that challenges would come again. Still, she felt ready. With Nathan by her side, perhaps they could face anything together. The night deepened, and Leora finally allowed herself to rest. Her heart was lighter, her fear diminished, and her respect for Nathan growing. The first trial was over, but their journey together had only just begun. The days after the rebel attack passed quietly at first, but Leora knew peace could not last. From the balcony of the palace, she watched the city below, noting the repairs being made and the guards patrolling the streets more closely. Nathan had insisted on remaining involved in the defense efforts, even though the immediate threat had passed. Leora followed him closely, curious and cautious, watching the human husband who had begun to earn her respect. One morning, a messenger arrived from the far borders of Oriales with urgent news. A rival alien faction, the Krelith, was moving their fleets toward the planet. They were known for their cruelty and their desire to conquer, and their fleets were vast. Leora's heart sank. Her people had prepared for diplomacy and minor conflicts, not a full-scale invasion. She felt a surge of fear. Could the humans truly help her people? Could Nathan stand against such a force? Nathan read the message carefully, his expression calm. "They are moving faster than expected," he said. "We must prepare immediately. This is not just a test of strength, but a test of strategy and coordination." Leora frowned. Strategy? We have the best Zinthar generals. Why do we need a human to guide us? Nathan looked at her without offense. I do not intend to replace them. I only hope to combine the strengths of our people. Zinthars are brave, disciplined, and skilled. Humans are adaptable, quick to think in emergencies, and often see solutions differently. Together, we have a better chance to defend the planet. Leora studied him carefully. He spoke with confidence but never arrogance. His words carried a weight she could not ignore. Perhaps he was right. Perhaps this human could offer something her people had not yet seen. The council meeting that followed was tense. Zinthar generals argued over the best defensive positions, while human advisors suggested alternative strategies. Nathan listened carefully to both sides before speaking. "We need to protect the civilians first," he said. "Fortify the cities where people are dense. Then we divide our forces. Some will defend the outer planets and the fleets, others will guard the main gates. But we must communicate clearly. If one group faces danger, the others must know immediately." A Zinthar general, a tall and imposing man named Varin, shook his head. "We know our people human. We do not need outsiders to tell us how to fight." Nathan nodded respectfully. "I do not claim to know more than you. I only ask that we consider all options. War is not only about courage. It is about preparation, coordination, and understanding the enemy." Leora watched silently. She had begun to see that Nathan's strength was not only in his courage but also in his wisdom. He did not act recklessly. He did not seek glory. He acted to protect and to unite. Slowly, she began to feel a stronger sense of trust. Preparations began immediately. Nathan worked alongside the Zinthar commanders, studying the city layouts, the fleet positions, and the surrounding space. He suggested minor changes to patrol routes, improved communication signals between ships, and emergency evacuation plans for the civilians. At first, some Zinthar officers resisted. They were proud and stubborn. But as Nathan calmly explained his reasoning and demonstrated his strategies, even the most skeptical began to see the value in his guidance. Leora observed all of this with a mix of awe and relief. The humans were adaptable, yes, but Nathan's leadership was more than adaptability. It was patience, insight, and moral courage. He did not seek recognition for his plans, only their success. Her heart swelled with admiration, though she did not yet realize it. Days passed, and the Krelith fleet drew closer. Scouts reported their movements, and alarms sounded across Orialis. The sky over the city was filled with strange lights as Zinthar and human defense ships patrolled together, side by side. Leora stood with Nathan on the balcony, watching the preparations. "They are coming," she said quietly, a tremor in her voice. Nathan placed a steady hand on hers. "We are ready. We cannot control the enemy's actions, but we can control ours. Stay calm, Princess." Courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. Leora nodded, taking in his words. They were simple but powerful. She had heard many speeches about courage, but Nathan's words carried weight because he lived by them. She felt her fear lessen slightly, replaced by resolve. The first skirmish began at dawn. Small Krelith ships approached the outer defenses, probing for weaknesses. The Zinthar fleet responded quickly, but confusion arose as signals were misread. Nathan's voice carried across the communication channels, calm and precise. "Move the left flank closer to the outer gate. Reinforce the sensors. Do not fire until they are within range. Keep civilians safe." The Zinthar officers hesitated, unsure. But Nathan's calm confidence was infectious. Slowly, they followed his instructions. Within minutes, the Krelith scouts were trapped in crossfire, their ships disabled. Leora watched from the palace, holding her breath. She had feared the humans could not fight on equal footing with the Zinthars, but Nathan's leadership had made the difference. They had won the first encounter not through sheer strength, but through strategy and coordination. Later that day, Nathan and Leora visited the injured in the makeshift hospital. He moved among the wounded with care, speaking to both humans and Zinthars. His hands were gentle, yet his presence gave calm to those in pain. Leora followed closely, realizing that bravery was not only shown in battle but also in compassion. One young Zinthar boy, barely 10, clutched a bandaged arm and looked up at Nathan with wide eyes. "Will it hurt?" he asked nervously. Nathan knelt beside him. "It will sting a little," he said softly. "But you are very brave. You will be fine." The boy nodded, trusting him immediately. Leora felt a surge of admiration. Nathan did not need fear to command respect. His actions alone earned it. By the third day of the invasion, the Krelith launched a full assault. Their fleet was larger than expected, their ships bristling with weapons and shields. The Zinthar fleet met them in orbit, and the battle began. Explosions lit the sky, and the hum of energy weapons filled the air. Leora stood with Nathan on the command balcony of the palace, watching the fight unfold on screens and in the sky above. Nathan's voice was calm as he directed the defense forces. "Focus on their flanks. Do not waste energy on ships already disabled. Keep the civilians protected at all costs. Communication is key. Do not let panic spread." Even when the battle turned chaotic, Nathan remained composed. Leora noticed that he made decisions quickly but carefully, taking into account the lives of both soldiers and civilians. Unlike what she had feared, he did not rush blindly into danger. He analyzed, calculated, and acted with precision. At one point, A massive Krelith cruiser broke through the outer defenses, heading toward the city center. Zinthar defenses struggled to slow it. Nathan issued rapid instructions, coordinating the fleets and ground forces. Within minutes, the cruiser was disabled, forced to retreat. The Zinthar generals looked at him with surprise, then with respect. Leora felt her fear fade completely. She realized that Nathan was not only strong but wise. He had courage, but it was guided by thought and morality. He protected those who could not protect themselves and acted without seeking personal glory. After the battle, the city celebrated cautiously. The Krelith had not been defeated completely, but the first wave had been stopped. Civilians cheered the combined defense forces, and Leora noticed something remarkable. Her people were no longer whispering about the human husband with suspicion. They were beginning to trust him. That evening, Leora and Nathan walked together in the palace gardens. The air was cool and the stars shone brightly above. For the first time, Leora felt she could speak freely without fear. "You were incredible today," she said softly. Nathan shook his head. "I only did my duty. Your people fought bravely as well. Courage comes in many forms, Princess." Leora looked at him carefully. I used to fear humans. I thought they were dangerous, wild, and untrustworthy. But you are different. I do not know how to explain it, but you are noble." Nathan smiled faintly. "Nobility is not about blood or title. It is about what we choose to do. Protecting others, even when it is difficult, is the true test of character." Leora nodded slowly. She realized that her fear had been replaced not only by trust, but by admiration. She had seen his courage, his wisdom, and his care. This human husband whom she had feared was showing her the true meaning of nobility. In the following days, Nathan continued to work with the Zinthar forces, improving defenses, training soldiers, and helping the wounded. Leora watched him tirelessly, learning from his calm courage. She began to understand that bravery was not about showing strength, but about using strength wisely. As the Krelith fleet regrouped and prepared for another attack, Leora felt a quiet confidence she had never experienced before. She knew that with Nathan by her side they could face whatever came next. She no longer feared him, nor the humans he represented. She had seen his true character, and it gave her hope. For the first time, she believed that the future could be different. Not only for herself, but for her people and for the humans who had come to Orialis. Together, perhaps they could create something stronger, something better, a future where courage, wisdom, and nobility could overcome fear and prejudice. And so, as the sun set over the city once again, Leora stood with Nathan on the balcony, looking out at the stars. The battle was far from over, but she knew that whatever happened, they would face it together. And in that knowledge, she found a new strength within herself, the first true trust she had ever felt in her human husband. The night on Orialis was quiet, but the calm was only an illusion. Princess Leora had been resting in her chambers, but her mind was restless. The recent battles had left her uneasy, though she trusted Nathan more than ever. She could see his true character, his courage, wisdom, and care for her people. Still, the memory of the Krelith fleet looming on the horizon made her heart pound. Nathan had been in the command center, reviewing reports and making adjustments to defense strategies. Leora had wanted to stay close, but he insisted she rest. "Your mind must stay clear," he had told her gently. "Fear can cloud judgment. Sleep, princess. Tomorrow we face new challenges." But sleep did not come easily. Leora tossed in her bed, imagining every possible threat to the palace. She remembered the civilians Nathan had saved during the rebel attack. She remembered his calm in the midst of chaos. She realized that her admiration for him was growing, mixing with a feeling she did not yet understand fully. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the palace. The emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls, and the soft hum of the city was replaced by chaos. Leora sat up, heart pounding. Something was wrong, very wrong. Nathan appeared almost immediately, calm but alert. "Princess, stay behind me," he said. His voice was steady, commanding, yet gentle. Leora could hear the concern in his words, but no fear. Outside her chambers, the corridors were filled with smoke and the distant sound of explosions. Krelith forces had launched a surprise attack directly on the palace. They had managed to breach the outer defenses with small, agile ships, and now were trying to take control of the royal grounds. Leora's fear surged. She had never imagined her home could be so vulnerable, but Nathan did not hesitate. He took her hand firmly, guiding her through the smoky halls. "Follow me," he said. "Stay close and do exactly as I say." They moved quickly, Nathan leading with precision. Guards were engaged in battle along the corridors, energy weapons flashing and doors shaking from impact. Leora saw human and Zinthar forces fighting side by side, following Nathan's orders. The scene was chaotic, but Nathan's calm presence seemed to create order amidst the chaos. At one point, a Krelith soldier emerged from a side corridor, weapon raised. Nathan reacted instantly. He pushed Leora behind him, then disarmed the attacker with careful, controlled movements. The soldier fell to the ground, stunned, unharmed but no longer a threat. Leora watched, amazed. He could have struck with force, but instead he subdued the enemy without cruelty. "Are you all right?" Nathan asked, his eyes scanning the halls for other threats. "Yes," Leora said, though her voice trembled slightly. I am with you." Nathan nodded and continued moving through the palace. They reached the royal armory, where weapons and defensive equipment were stored. Nathan quickly distributed arms to the remaining guards and even to Leora, insisting she take a protective device. "You must be able to defend yourself," he said. "Do not underestimate them, Princess." Leora held the weapon awkwardly, but she trusted Nathan. She noticed how carefully he gave instructions, showing her the safest ways to use it, never treating her like she was incapable. His respect and patience made her feel strong, even in the face of danger. The Krelith forces advanced deeper into the palace. Nathan led a small group, including Leora, through secret corridors and hidden passages. They reached the central command room, where Nathan took control of the palace's defense systems. Energy shields were raised, barriers activated, and communication channels opened to coordinate with the city defenses. Leora watched as he worked, his hands moving with speed and precision, his mind calculating every possibility. He did not panic, though the threat was immediate and deadly. Every action he took was for the protection of others, not for glory or recognition. Leora felt a surge of admiration. She realized that true nobility was not in titles or birth, but in courage, skill, and care for others. Suddenly, a Krelith ship broke through the palace barriers and landed in the central courtyard. Soldiers poured out, armed and dangerous. Nathan quickly assessed the situation. "We must push them back," he said firmly. "Leora, stay behind the guards, you will be safe there." But Leora did not move. She wanted to help, to be part of the defense, not a passive observer. Nathan noticed her hesitation. "Princess, this is dangerous. Please follow my instructions." "I can help," she said. "I want to help." Nathan looked at her, and for the first time a shadow of worry crossed his calm face. "Very well," he said finally, "but stay close to me. Trust my guidance." Together they moved toward the courtyard. Guards formed a line, with Nathan at the front, leading the charge. The Krelith soldiers attacked fiercely, but Nathan remained composed. He gave clear commands, directing both human and Zinthar forces. His actions were swift, precise, and effective. At one point, a Krelith soldier broke through the line, rushing toward Leora. Nathan acted instantly. He pushed her to the ground and tackled the soldier, restraining him with careful strength. Leora watched, her heart pounding, as Nathan subdued the enemy without striking him fatally. He handed the soldier to nearby guards and returned to face the battle. Leora felt a mix of fear and awe. Nathan was human, yes, but he was more than that. He was brave, noble, and wise. She realized that her fear of humans had been misplaced. This human, her husband, was someone she could rely on completely. The battle continued for hours. Explosions rocked the courtyard, energy beams flashed through the air, and smoke filled the sky. Nathan moved constantly, protecting the civilians, guiding the soldiers, and keeping Leora safe. Every decision he made was careful, every action purposeful. Leora saw his courage in its purest form, not reckless bravado, but controlled bravery with the safety of others at the center. By late evening, the Krelith forces began to retreat. Their initial attack had been strong, but Nathan's leadership, combined with the bravery of the Zinthar and human defenders, had forced them back. The palace was damaged, but the civilians were safe, and the enemy had been repelled. Leora looked at Nathan, her eyes wide with awe. He was breathing heavily, his uniform torn and scorched in places, but his expression was calm, almost serene. He had faced death without flinching, protected others, and maintained his moral code. You saved them all," Leora whispered. Nathan shook his head. "We all fought together. Courage is not mine alone. Your people were brave. The guards were brave. But yes, I did what I had to do to protect everyone, including you." Leora's heart swelled with admiration. She realized something profound. Her fear of Nathan, of humans, of the unknown had completely changed. She no longer feared him. She respected him. She admired him. And deep inside she felt something more, a bond forming that went beyond duty and politics. That night after the battle, Leora stayed with Nathan as he coordinated the cleanup and recovery. They moved through the damaged halls, checking on the wounded and ensuring the city defenses were reinforced. Nathan's calm presence gave strength to everyone around him, including Leora. She followed his lead, learning from his example, feeling her own courage grow. At one point, they reached the palace garden, which had suffered some damage from the attack. Leora looked around, seeing the destruction, but also the resilience of her people. Flowers were crushed, but new shoots were already emerging. It reminded her of Nathan's actions, strong, careful, and life-affirming even in the face of danger. "Princess," Nathan said softly, noticing her gaze, "you were brave today. You stayed with me through the battle. That takes courage." Leora shook her head. "I could not have done it without you. You were amazing. I have never seen anyone fight with such calm and care." Nathan smiled faintly. "I only did what was right. Protecting others is the noblest thing anyone can do." Leora looked at him, really looked, and realized she had never seen a person like him before. Not in her world, not in any of the stories she had heard about humans. Nathan Brooks was brave, noble, kind, and wise. He had faced danger with courage, protected the innocent, and never sought glory. He had shown her what true nobility looked like. As they walked back through the palace, Leora felt a sense of peace she had never known. The fear that had once gripped her heart was gone, replaced by respect, trust, and admiration. She realized that the human she had feared was now the one person she could rely on completely. For the first time, she allowed herself to see Nathan not just as her husband, but as a true partner, someone who would stand by her side in any danger. The events of the night had tested them both, but they had emerged stronger, closer, and united in purpose. And in that quiet moment, as the stars shone above Orialis, Leora understood something she had never believed possible. Fear could be transformed into trust, courage could be shared, and nobility could be found in the most unexpected of places. The sun rose over Orialis, painting the city in soft gold and silver light. The palace had been repaired quickly, and the streets were beginning to feel alive again. After the surprise Krelith attack, Leora noticed something remarkable. Her people were not afraid anymore. The courage and guidance Nathan had shown had inspired them all. Princess Leora stood on the balcony, looking out over the city. The recent battles had changed everything. Not just the city, not just the palace, but her understanding of humans and, most importantly, of Nathan Brooks. She remembered the fear she had felt when she first met him, the distrust that had filled her heart. And now, after seeing his courage, wisdom, and care, that fear had completely disappeared. It was replaced with respect, admiration, and a deep, quiet trust. Nathan joined her silently. He did not need to speak to show understanding. Leora felt his presence as a steadying force beside her. "The city is quiet," he said softly, his voice calm but filled with meaning. "For now, at least. The Krelith will regroup, but we have learned much from their attack." Leora nodded. "Yes, and I have learned something too. I feared you when we first met, Nathan. I thought humans were unpredictable, perhaps dangerous. But I see now that true courage and nobility are not about birth or species. They are about choices, actions, and care for others." Nathan looked at her, his expression gentle. "I have only done what is right. Courage is not mine alone. Your people showed bravery as well." "We fought together," Leora smiled faintly. "Yes, but it is different with you. You faced danger calmly, thinking of everyone, not just yourself. That is something rare, even among Zinthars. You are noble, Nathan, in a way I did not expect." Nathan's smile was quiet, almost shy. "Thank you, Princess. That means more than you know. I only hope to continue doing what is right." Their moment was interrupted by a call from the palace command center. A scout had reported movement in the nearby space lanes. The Krelith fleet was approaching again, larger than before, their intentions clear. They had not yet given up. Leora felt a pang of fear, but Nathan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Do you trust me?" he asked simply. Leora met his gaze. She thought back to the battles, to the lives he had saved, to the courage he had shown. She nodded slowly. "Yes," she said, "I trust you completely." Nathan nodded, a small smile touching his lips. "Then we act together. We will protect Orialis and we will protect your people." The council quickly convened again. This time, there was no chaos. The Zinthar generals, human advisors, and Nathan worked together seamlessly. Nathan suggested dividing the fleets into smaller groups to flank the Krelith forces, while simultaneously protecting the city and civilian convoys. His strategy was clear, efficient, and decisive. Some Zinthar nobles still whispered, questioning a human's role in such critical decisions, but the results of the previous battles had silenced most doubts. Even the most skeptical generals followed Nathan's plan, impressed by his ability to remain calm under pressure and to anticipate enemy movements. As the Krelith fleet approached, Nathan and Leora stood in the palace command room, observing the unfolding battle. The sky above Orialis was filled with ships, energy beams, and explosions. The city held steady, shielded by the combined efforts of humans and Zinthars. Nathan's voice was steady as he gave orders. "Divide your forces as planned. Keep communication lines open. Focus on coordination, not panic. Protect civilians first, then engage the enemy." The strategy worked. The Krelith fleet was caught off guard by the coordinated attack. Ships were disabled one by one, flanks collapsed, and their forces were gradually pushed back. Nathan moved among the communication channels, guiding each squad, predicting the enemy's moves, and adjusting plans in real time. Leora watched in awe. The human she had once feared was now orchestrating the defense of her entire world. His calm confidence, quick thinking, and moral courage had saved countless lives. She realized something profound. Nobility was not inherited, it was demonstrated. And Nathan Brooks had shown it in every action he had taken. By the afternoon, the Krelith fleet began to retreat. Their morale was broken, their strategy undone by the combined human Zinthar forces led by Nathan. The city had survived, the people were safe, and the palace stood unbroken. Leora felt a deep sense of relief and pride. Not just in Nathan, but in the unity that had been forged between their peoples. After the battle, Nathan and Leora moved through the city to check on the civilians. People came out of their homes, cheering, thanking the human and Zinthar defenders alike. Children ran to Nathan, asking if he was the hero who had saved them. He smiled and knelt, speaking gently to each child, calming their fears and showing kindness without arrogance. Leora followed, her heart swelling with admiration. She realized that Nathan's strength was not only in battle, but in compassion, patience, and humility. He had faced fear, danger, and doubt, and had acted with courage and honor at every turn. That evening, the city held a quiet celebration. The Krelith had retreated, the city had survived, and hope had returned. Leora stood on the stage beside Nathan as the people cheered. She felt a mix of emotions, relief, pride, and something new. She had feared him once, but now she saw him clearly for who he truly was: brave, noble, wise, and kind. As the crowd dispersed, Leora took Nathan's hand and led him to the palace gardens. The night was calm, the stars shining brightly above. The destruction of the previous days was fading, replaced by the resilience of the city and its people. Leora looked at Nathan, feeling the weight of what they had faced together. "You have shown me something I never expected," she said softly. "I feared you when we first met. I thought humans were dangerous, wild, and untrustworthy, but now I see your true character. You are noble, Nathan, not because of your strength, but because of your heart and choices." Nathan looked at her, his expression gentle. "I only did what I had to do. Courage is not mine alone. Your people, your soldiers, even you all showed bravery. We faced danger together." Leora shook her head, smiling faintly. "No, what you did, what you showed in the battles, in protecting everyone, it was extraordinary. I have never seen anyone like you before." Nathan took her hand, holding it firmly but gently. "Princess, it is an honor to serve your people and to stand by your side. That is all I have ever wanted: to protect, to help, and to do what is right." For the first time, Leora felt a deep sense of peace. The fear that had once dominated her heart was gone. It had been replaced by trust, respect, and admiration. She realized that she could rely on Nathan completely, not only as her husband but as a partner, a leader, and a friend. Over the following days, Nathan worked to strengthen the city's defenses and improve relations between humans and Zinthars. Leora stayed by his side, learning from him, helping him communicate with the people, and observing his courage and wisdom in action. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day. One evening, as the city lights glimmered and the stars shone above, Leora and Nathan walked through the gardens. The soft glow of alien flowers lit their path. Leora looked at him, feeling something she had never felt before: complete trust and admiration, mixed with a warmth in her heart that went beyond duty or politics. "Nathan," she said softly, "I used to fear you. I used to fear humans, but now I see the truth. You are not only brave but noble. You have shown me what courage really is and what it means to protect others. I am proud to call you my husband." Nathan smiled, a quiet, genuine smile. "And I am honored to stand by your side, Princess. Together we can face any challenge, protect your people, and build a better future." Leora felt her heart swell. She realized that fear could be transformed into trust, courage, and admiration. She had learned that true nobility was not about titles, species, or strength alone. It was about choices, actions, and care for others. Nathan had shown her this lesson, and she would never forget it. In the following weeks, Orioles began to recover fully. Trade resumed, the wounded healed, and the city's defenses were stronger than ever. Nathan continued to work with the Zinthar leaders, improving strategies, training soldiers, and fostering cooperation between humans and Zinthars. Leora watched, proud and inspired. She knew that her people were safer, not just because of strength, but because of Nathan's wisdom and moral courage. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the city, Leora stood beside Nathan on the palace balcony. She looked out at the lights of Orioles, feeling a sense of calm and hope. Nathan stood close, his hand resting gently on hers. She realized that she no longer feared him, nor the humans he represented. She had seen his true nobility, and it had transformed her heart. "Thank you, Nathan," she said softly, "for everything, for your courage, your wisdom, and your care. You have shown me what it means to be noble and what it means to trust. I will never forget it." Nathan looked at her, his expression warm. "It is my honor, Princess. And I promise I will continue to stand by your side, no matter what comes." Leora smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. She realized that her journey with Nathan had only just begun. Together they had faced danger, fear, and uncertainty, and emerged stronger, united, and ready for the future. As they stood together, watching the twin moons rise over Borealis, Leora knew one thing for certain. She no longer feared her human husband. She admired him, trusted him, and respected him deeply. Nathan Brooks had shown her the true meaning of nobility, courage, and love, and in that knowledge she found a strength she had never known before. The future was uncertain, but she faced it with Nathan by her side. And for the first time in her life, Princess Leora felt truly safe, not just in her city, but in her heart. The human she had once feared had become the man she trusted, admired, and would always stand beside. Together, they would face the challenges ahead, protect their people, and build a new era of courage, honor, and unity. The story of fear transformed into trust, of doubt transformed into admiration, and of humanity's true nobility had reached its first, shining conclusion.